You're about to discover the one habit that quietly destroys more relationships than betrayal, jealousy, or incompatibility ever could. A habit so subtle, so invisible that most people don't even know they're doing it until it's too late. Let me ask you something. Have you ever felt disappointed by someone you love? Not because of what they did, but because of what they didn't do. The birthday they didn't remember, the reassurance they didn't offer, the support they didn't give, the question they didn't ask. And suddenly, this heavy feeling shows up in your chest. If they really cared, they would have noticed. But here's the uncomfortable truth, and this is the part nobody tells you. They didn't disappoint you. Your expectation did, because the silent habit that destroys relationships is this: expecting someone to read your mind when you haven't learned to read yourself. Most people don't communicate their needs, not because they don't want to, but because they don't know how, or worse, they don't even know what those needs are. So they stay quiet, and silence becomes a strategy, a defense mechanism, a test, a trap that both people fall into. You think being quiet makes you easier to love. You believe that if someone really cared, they'd automatically understand you, anticipate you, decode you. But here's the problem. How can someone understand you if you don't understand yourself? How can someone meet your needs if you never gave them the instructions? How can someone love you right if the version of you they're loving is the one that hides? This is how relationships die. Not with fights, but with silence. And the tragedy is this: most people aren't quiet because they don't care. They're quiet because they're afraid. Afraid of being seen as too much. Afraid of being rejected. Afraid of asking for too many things. Afraid of disappointing or being disappointed. So they shrink. So they simplify themselves. So they mute parts of who they are. So they pretend everything is okay, even when it's not. And this is the exact moment the relationship begins to decay. Not with betrayal, but with self-abandonment. You stop expressing your preferences. You stop explaining your boundaries. You stop revealing your emotional texture, the real one, not the curated one. You mold yourself into something more convenient, more digestible, more agreeable. But here's the irony. The moment you stop showing who you are, you also stop giving the other person a chance to love you. Because love can't survive when one person disappears. And this is the part nobody wants to admit. We expect the other person to magically understand us because it feels easier than doing the hard work of understanding ourselves. It's easier to hope they guess the right thing than to sit with the truth of what we actually feel. It's easier to blame their lack of intuition than to confront our lack of communication. It's easier to pretend everything is fine than to risk the vulnerability of saying, "I need this." But relationships don't break because people are bad. They break because people are scared, and fear teaches you to whisper your needs internally instead of speaking them aloud. Fear tells you to wait for someone to notice instead of inviting them in. Fear convinces you that if it's real, it should be effortless, when in reality, the most authentic relationships are the ones built with intention, not telepathy. Let me give you an image. Imagine walking into a room with the lights off. You know the furniture is there. You know the space exists, but you keep bumping into things you didn't see. You get hurt, frustrated, irritated. That's what a relationship becomes when communication is withheld. Two people walking through emotional darkness, bumping into invisible expectations. And here's the twist. Your partner isn't ignoring you. They're just navigating in the dark. The light only turns on when you speak. And right here, right now, is the moment most people have a realization. Maybe I'm not broken. Maybe we're not incompatible. Maybe we've just been silent for too long. If this is resonating with you, it's because you've lived it. You know exactly how heavy it feels when your needs collide with your silence. And if you're thinking, okay, but what do I do now? There's something crucial you need to hear, and it might just be the turning point for your entire love life. Because the problem isn't that you're hard to love. The problem is that you've been loving silently, and in about 30 seconds, I'm going to show you how to break this habit for good. Without drama, without fear, and without losing yourself. But before we go deeper, if this message is waking something up inside you right now, hit that like button and subscribe, not for the algorithm, for you. Because the more you learn about yourself, the more your relationships finally make sense. Now, let's go to the heart of this, and once you hear it, you'll never unsee it again. Most people think relationships fall apart because of big events, the fight, the betrayal, the argument that went too far. But the truth is much quieter. Relationships don't shatter in a lightning strike. They erode like sand, one unspoken need at a time. And the more I work with human behavior, the clearer it becomes. People don't hide their needs because they don't care. They hide their needs because they're scared. Scared of being misunderstood, scared of being too much, scared of repeating old patterns, scared of losing someone they finally feel safe with, scared of exposing the parts of themselves they still don't fully understand. So silence becomes a shield, not a comfortable one, but a familiar one. And here's the problem no one sees coming. Silence feels safe at first, but it becomes a prison later. Because every time you swallow your truth, you lose a piece of yourself. Every time you avoid a conversation, you avoid intimacy. Every time you pretend you're okay, you teach the other person a lie about who you are. And one day, you look at the relationship and think, why don't they understand me? But how could they? They fell in love with the version of you that never spoke. This is where the silent habit becomes dangerous. It convinces you that being honest will ruin everything, when the real destruction comes from holding it all inside. Let me show you how this plays out psychologically. The 4 stages of the silent habit and why they happen. Stage 1, internal guessing. You feel something, a discomfort, a need, a desire, a preference, but you don't express it. You give yourself a speech. It's not a big deal. I don't want to bother them. They should already know. Maybe it'll go away. This is the moment the seed is planted. Stage 2, unmet expectations. The other person, with 0 information, makes a choice. And because they're not inside your mind, they choose wrong. And suddenly, the silence is no longer protection. It feels like betrayal. Stage 3, emotional disconnection. You start pulling back, not out of punishment, but because disappointment turns into distance. You stop sharing small things. You stop initiating conversations. You stop opening the door to closeness. Your silence becomes heavier than any argument would have been. Stage 4, identity fracture. This is the final stage, the one that ends relationships. You no longer feel seen, not because the person didn't want to see you, but because you never showed yourself. And the person who never learned the real you can't love you the way the real you needs. This is how people end up lying in bed next to someone and feeling completely alone. Not because love ended, but because communication never began. But there's something deeper, something most people never realize. Silence isn't just a lack of communication. It's a sign of internal disconnection. Before you hide your truth from someone else, you hide it from yourself first. You can't express what you haven't explored. You can't articulate what you haven't understood. You can't ask for what you never allowed yourself to feel. Most people think they have communication issues, but what they really have are self-connection issues. The relationship with another person always mirrors the relationship you have with yourself. If you don't know your emotional language, no one else will. If you don't honor your boundaries, no one else will. If you don't recognize your needs, everyone else will miss them. That's why people who don't know who they are end up in the wrong relationships. Not because they're unlucky, but because they're unclear. And clarity isn't magic. Clarity is responsibility. Here's the breakthrough. You don't need someone who completes you. You need someone who expands you. But expansion only happens when you show your whole self. Not the edited version, not the convenient version, not the silent version. Let me ask you something, and I want you to be honest with yourself. Do you communicate your needs, or do you hope someone guesses them? That one question can reveal the entire health of your relationship. Because if your love depends on the other person being psychic, you're building intimacy on quicksand. Real connection requires 2 whole people, not one whole and one hidden, not one expressive and one silent, not one intuitive and one resentful. 2 whole people choosing each other, with honesty, clarity, and emotional maturity. And if you don't feel whole yet, that's not a flaw. That's the starting point. Wholeness isn't perfection. It's awareness. It's saying, this is who I am. This is how I feel. This is what I need. Not to demand, not to control, but to let the relationship breathe without guessing. Because love can survive differences, but it cannot survive silence. So, and if you're thinking, okay, so how do I break this habit? You're about to get the answer. In the next part, we're going straight into how to express your needs without fear, how to create emotional safety, and how to build a relationship where nobody has to guess anymore. And I promise you this, once you learn it, you will never tolerate silent love again. If you made it this far, then something inside you already knows the truth. You don't want quiet love anymore. You don't want relationships where everything is a guess. You don't want to keep pretending your silence is strength. You want something real, alive, reciprocal, intelligent, emotionally mature, and honest enough to grow with you, not at the cost of you. So let's talk about how to break the silent habit for good. Because once you learn this, you'll never go back to relationships where your voice is optional. Step 1. Understand your needs before you explain them. Most people jump straight into how do I communicate better? But communication is not the first step. Self-awareness is, you can't express what you haven't named. You can't articulate what you haven't seen. You can't share a truth you never acknowledged. And here's a secret. Your needs are not complicated. They feel complicated because you've been ignoring them. Sit with yourself. Not with your stories. Not with your fears. Not with the version of you that tries to be easy to love. Sit with the version of you that actually lives inside. What makes you feel safe? What makes you feel valued? What makes you feel abandoned? What are the patterns you've been repeating? Where do you betray yourself first? Where do you silence your emotions just to keep the peace? Write them down, not to blame anyone, but to recognize yourself, because a relationship can only hold what you're willing to reveal. Step 2, communicate without accusation, without drama, without fear. Here's the biggest myth about communication. People think expressing their needs will start a fight, but the truth is the opposite. Unexpressed needs are what start fights. Expressed needs prevent them. The right way to express something isn't. You never understand me. You don't care. You should know this already. Those are weapons, not words. Instead, try this. I realized I need marks to feel connected. When chug happens, my body feels unsafe. I'm learning more about myself, and I think checkout matters to me. I want to share this so we can grow, not so we can fight. This is important to me, and I want you to understand it. Healthy communication isn't about demanding. It's about opening the door. And here's the beautiful part. Most people aren't defensive because of what you say. They're defensive because of how invisible you've been. Visibility softens people. Transparency creates safety. Clarity reduces fear. When you show up as yourself without performing, something magical happens. The relationship stops feeling like a minefield and starts feeling like a partnership. Step 3, stop expecting mind reading. Start choosing maturity. You are not responsible for teaching someone how to be a psychic. You are responsible for making yourself known. Relationships thrive when both people choose maturity over magic. Because maturity is this. I'll tell you what I need. I'll listen to what you need. We will meet in the middle, not in silence. Mind reading feels romantic in movies. In real life, it's emotional chaos. The strongest couples don't guess. They ask, they share, they check in, they show up with curiosity instead of assumption. Mind reading demands perfection. Communication demands presence, and presence is what makes love real. Step 4, stop believing you're too much. You're not, you're just muted. You're not too emotional. You're not too intense. You're not too sensitive. You're not too difficult. You're just unspoken. People who silence themselves always believe they're the problem. But silence magnifies fear. Truth reduces it. You are not hard to love. You've just never given someone the chance to love the full version of you. Let them. Let yourself. Love is not a puzzle people solve. Love is a story two people write, voluntarily, consciously, and honestly. Step 5. Choose relationships where your voice doesn't have to fight to be heard. The final step is the most important. Your voice should not have to beg for space. It should not compete with someone's ego. It should not be dismissed, minimized, or ridiculed. Healthy love welcomes truth. Immature love avoids it. Choose people who value honesty over comfort. Choose people who can hear you without shrinking. Choose people who don't punish vulnerability. Choose people who speak your emotional language, or at least want to learn it. And if you've never had that before, don't worry. You're learning to create it now. Here's your turning point moment. Your needs are not inconveniences. Your voice is not a threat. Your feelings are not burdens. And your silence is not strength. Strength is self-awareness. Strength is emotional clarity. Strength is allowing someone to meet the real you. And if someone can't handle your truth, they were never capable of handling your love. Because real love is not quiet. Real love is aligned. Real love is conscious. Real love is reciprocal. Real love is two whole people expanding each other, not two silent people trying to guess their way into connection. And if this message hits something deep inside you, good. It means you're finally ready for the kind of love that doesn't rely on silence, performance, guessing, or emotional invisibility. It means you're done shrinking, done waiting, done hiding, done living in the dark. It means you're ready to be whole and ready to choose someone who loves the whole version of you. If this video helped you see yourself more clearly, hit the like button, subscribe, and share it with someone who needs this message today. Because silent love ends, but conscious love expands. Now go build the kind of connection you actually deserve. The kind where nobody has to guess anymore. This is Human Wave, where awakened minds rise into a life of wholeness and fulfillment.